God damn it.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. And the truth. You'll set you free.
So how you doing, man?
Good, man. It's been a minute, right? I mean, like the last time we talked was, I think, American Illustration.
Yeah.
I think around 1877. You know,
That seems about right. When was that? Was that like I think that's the only time I've been at the actual show.
this was that was
2016 or 15,
probably
something like that.
yeah,
So-
yeah. Wow. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's been a while.
it's been a while. You had a mustache, and I definitely had more hair on my head. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I keep thinking every once in a while I start to grow the mustache back because it takes me like 2 days.
Yeah.
But then one of my kids like starts pulling on it, and it's like, oh no,
No.
it's too hard with toddlers.
You know, I never even thought of that. Yeah, maybe I have to keep my beard really short then.
Yeah, but I have a mustache issue, and it's just it's a personal thing. Everyone's always like, dude, you gotta grow the stash back, but like I'm kind of, I mean, this is just me personally, but I think I'm kind of a mustache purist, whereas like I think mustaches look bad when they're trimmed.
Right.
Like I like to see a mustache that's wild and full, and so when I grow a mustache, I grow all of it, one big huge, so it all comes into a curl, and like it's not just shaved and trimmed here and then it curls on the sides. That's so dumb.
Right.
I have like the full like butt, which
Yeah.
I can't drink things, I can't have soup, I can't, like, it's like you're just constantly like, ugh. It's like a soup stainer, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm constantly having to put some wax into it, and because I've tried before to trim it and everything, and it always looks terrible when it's trimmed. I think it's because of my lips. Like I got full lips, but when I trim the mustache, it's like the lips are competing with the stash, so I think I have to kind of cover the top lip a little bit, and then it looks cool. But,
Have you considered removing the top lip?
I have to walk around like,
Yeah. Yeah.
there you go.
Dude, Jason's so mad all the time. What's going on?
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
hey man, welcome everybody to another episode of Face the Truth. This is I've known of this gentleman's work for many a year, and I'm looking forward to talking with him because I want to just catch up and get into whatever we want to talk about, but I want to get some technical things going here because this guy's got some magic going on in his paint. Everybody loves Raymond, you know what I'm saying? Every time I see one of his posts, to see one of his paintings, I'm like, ooh, that's pretty, you know. And I got some theories about what's going on here because I think he's got some tricks up his sleeves. He can't be that good, you know what I'm saying? Like it's there's something going on here. No, anyways, an amazing painter, an awesome guy. So everyone, please welcome Ray Bonilla. Is it Bonilla? 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 How do you
Bonilla.
Bonilla. I was close. Bonilla.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Thank you so much for bringing me on, dude. This is great, man. I love your podcast. I've watched the episodes since, the early days. I think especially ever since Tyler Jacobson had it on, because he's a good buddy of mine. So he's like, dude, I'm going to be on Jason Seiler's podcast. I'm like, no way. You know,
I don't know if that's that great of a thing, but no, I love Tyler, man. He's such an awesome dude, man. I love that guy.
He had a great one with another good buddy of mine's, Robin Ely. He's good, right?
Oh, I love him, man. Him and I go way back too, man. We go way back, and it's funny because we've never met in person, but we used to have the same agent, and
wow.
and yeah, did you listen to that episode?
Yeah. The whole thing.
I think I brought up about how, like, I was finally in Australia, and then he was here. Like,
he was.
I was like, "Hey, bro, I'm in Melbourne. Like, let's hang out." And he's like, "Oh, I'm in your house in Chicago." Like, what? Yeah, your wife is so awesome.
Yeah. You're out of OJ, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's weird. And then I happened to be at the Comedy Store a couple years ago, and I was trying to get in and to do like a 1-minute thing for this show, and he's like, "Dude, I live like literally 50 feet away."
Right.
But
yeah.
it was like I already had plans for the whole night. I'm like, "Oh my god."
Yeah.
So one of these days.
Small world. Yeah. It's, you know what? Don't meet him in person. It's a disappointment.
Yeah, it's a disappointment. I'm just saying. I might fall in love. It's a handsome dude.
Yeah, he's
a handsome specimen.
Yeah. So the first time we met was actually at the American Illustration Party. This illustrator walked up to me and was like, "Hey, are you Ray Bonilla?" And I was like, first of all, no one's ever asked me that question in my life.
That's awesome.
And so I was like, yeah. And I look at his name tag, and it's this illustrator by the name of Scott Anderson, who's like, it's awesome illustrator. Yeah.
I know him.
And so like, I was like, oh my God. And so I give him this man I've never met a gigantic bear hug. And he's like, oh, he's just like, oh, hey, and then over his shoulder, I look up, and in comes Robin, and he's like, "Hey, I'm Raymond Bonilla," and I'm like, and then I grabbed my other arm and I hugged him, and he's like, "Get over here, I love you," and that was before we, had the drinks were being served. So that goes to show you how excited
I thought you were going to say that's before we all had to wear masks all the time.
No, yeah. And so they ended up being, they were really good friends, and so small world, and he's just happened to be in New York.
That's awesome, man.
But you know how that goes, all that stuff.
Good old days.
Yeah.
When it was okay to hug people.
I know.
You're in New York, right?
Yeah, I'm in Buffalo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I'm from Queens originally.
Okay.
So I still have a ton of family down there in the city, in the 5 boroughs area.
Has it been getting better there? I mean, I know it's been crazy, but
yeah. So my brother lives in Brooklyn, and my parents live in Queens, and they were saying that things have been opening up, and I've been hearing from other people that things have been opening up. Thank goodness, But it was almost like a ghost town, in certain places, and people were like, "All right, I'm out of here until further notice."
Yeah.
But it's getting better, So.
Yeah, it's cool, man. Like, things are starting to open up here in Chicago, which is nice. I actually went last night to go do to an open mic to do stand up for the first time in over a year.
Wow, how was that?
Well, it didn't work out because, like, the signups you're supposed to sign up at 9:30 and then you go up at 10. And so I was all excited. I mean, I've got like a real tight 5 right now, and I could do like 7 minutes, maybe. I can do more if I had to. So, but I feel prepared, and I was all excited to get up there. But they had this thing where, first of all, they're only going to give you 3 minutes, but if you do 30 seconds of fucking karaoke, then they give you 2 more minutes, so you can have 5 minutes. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not coming here to do karaoke.
Whoa.
Like, I want to do stand up, but I guess you're going to make a bunch of us comics go do karaoke. So just give us 5 minutes. Right. But whatever.
It's the bundle deal. Bundle deal. You had to buy the bundle, right?
It's like, we're going to make it more fun. It's like, no, now you're just giving me more material so I can bitch about how stupid this is.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's not the reason it didn't work out. The reason I was like, oh, okay, whatever. So I put in "Don't Worry, Be Happy." I was like, I'll sing that song. I can sing the shit out of that song.
Yeah.
But so I'm really excited. And then the guy comes up and he goes, all right, the lists are here. It's the honor system, who got here first, and all of a sudden it was like a pack of wolves to like a dead rabbit. Like, they just went, there was like 25 people, and I'm like,
oh my God.
I'm like, I just got here before, and I'm like, man, if basically I was doing the math, and it starts at 10. Yeah. I'm not gonna get up until like 1 a.m. or later. I'm like, nah.
Oh my God.
I just couldn't because I have work and I have all this stuff, and
yeah.
So I need to plan better so that so apparently I have to go like a couple hours before,
right?
So that I can
pitch at 10, and then
yeah, because it was my fault, but anyways, it's good that things are opening because I'm excited, but yeah, we're actually trying to get out of the city as soon as possible. We have to move anyways.
So you're in Chicago?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Dude,
So
I had no idea. I didn't know you were in Chicago. I was there. Oh my God. Last February.
Oh, okay.
Sense? Yeah. But yeah, I love that. It was my first time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you're leaving. So you're in the city, but so you guys are leaving the.
Yeah, I've been in the city for 25 years, and
wow.
I'm ready to not be in the city anymore. I love it, but it's like, literally, have you heard of the Citizen app?
Yeah, sort of, kind of.
Tells you when bad things are going on. Like literally, while we're doing this podcast, if it happens, I'll let you know. But every 5 minutes or so, someone gets shot about 0.3, 0.4 miles from my house.
Oh my God.
Like this happens every single day. And so, and then throughout this last year with everything that happened, the Chicago was not a fun place to be.
Right.
And it's just getting more and more expensive. So we decided we're looking for a place in the suburbs outside of Chicago.
Okay. Yeah.
So we can get more for the money.
Yeah.
It's way safer, better schools.
Yeah.
And if we want to go to the city, it's like 30-minute drive or whatever. So,
that sounds perfect.
Yeah, we can have a yard.
Move to Buffalo. You should move to Buffalo. We need more artists. Hey, Philip Burke is here.
Oh, I love Philip Burke.
Yeah, awesome. So there you go. Yeah,
dude, he's supposed to be on the podcast like a long time ago, but every single he's like, yeah, I'll do it, and then we set up a time, and he goes, and then when I was about to like say, hey, so you ready in about 10 minutes? He goes, oh, I thought we were just gonna have a meeting about when I was gonna be on the podcast. Like, no. So, but we're eventually one of these days.
It's awesome.
So
it's like everyone's got like a Phil, like people I've met. I've had it like a Philip Burke story. Like I ran into him in an art store, and I'm like, "Are you Philip Burke?" And he's like, "Yes, I am." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm Ray Bonilla. I'm this illustrator. I'm just such a huge fan of your work. You're like a legend, man." He's like, "Oh, so nice to meet you. Oh, that's so." And he was super. He's like. Awesome. He's amazing.
He's a very nice person.
And everybody like in the art stores, like this, we're all coming up to him and saying, "Hey, Philip, do you need this?" And then he's like, "Oh, thanks." And he's been going there for years and stuff. And so all of a sudden, like I was like, "Hey, so, I would love to visit your studio to get a cup of coffee." He's like, "That sounds great." Yeah, I think. And he's like, all of a sudden he just stops. And he's like, I told my son I would meet him 2 hours ago. I have to go. And then he had like a tube of ultramarine blue. I'll never forget this. And he just left. And I'm like, did he steal the ultramarine blue? Like, because I never saw him put it back.
He's like Picasso. He just like goes in there and he just signs an autograph. And that pays for everything.
Pays for everything in this row, right? Yeah.
That's pretty funny, dude.
Yeah. I was like, and then that was it. It was the last time I ever saw him.
That's funny. He's like a unicorn.
Yeah, he very well might be. Yeah, so Buffalo has unicorns. So this is another reason why you should move. Yeah.
No, he's pretty awesome, man. Yeah. He's the guy that first got me, like into wanting to be in Rolling Stone magazine. Like I remember when I was 15 years old, I was collecting Rolling Stone just because when you open that first page. Remember, like when Rolling Stone used to be like huge.
Oh yeah.
And you open that page and it's just like this giant Philip Burke of Kurt Cobain or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And I would buy the magazine. I wouldn't even read it. I would just rip out that page and tape it to my wall.
Right.
Like, and then I'd fantasize about Philip Burke. No, I would. I would
Philip.
Yeah. No, but I would
morning,
just.
Phillip.
I was like, this is what I want to do. I
want
to do that. I want to. Yeah, it's a small world, man. Because then years later, I met him at the Society of Illustrators once. Everyone's like flocking to him.
All right, right.
So I didn't really say hi because I felt like just let him have a break.
Yeah,
I did say hi briefly, but I didn't want to like swarm him.
Right.
But he was so nice, because he knew who I was, and that was shocking.
That's
for
awesome.
Me. And so we talked for like maybe 2 minutes, and then you could tell he wanted to hang, but I was like, I'm gonna go check something out. I was trying to make a cool exit, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember he had this painting at the show that was like 8 feet tall or something.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing about those like illustrations. They're so like they feel big, but they actually are big.
Yeah,
like they're gigantic.
Beautiful.
It's like,
beautiful.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
So, man, I want to say something. That one thing about your work, and I would like to, if you don't mind, just I want a little history about you. Just I want to talk about how you got started. But I do want to bring up something real quick. Is the one, certain artists, you look at their work and there is signature things like right away. Like Nicholas Uribe. His brushwork is so distinct, totally. and the way that he draws people, like there's something about his proportions and different things. And same thing with like Hollis Dunlop, or someone that you can tell like certain big kind of brush strokes, and
totally.
There's like a language, right? And every artist has their own thing, and every single painter that I've had on this podcast has a completely. I've never had one person have the same way of thinking or anything, which is pretty awesome. But the one thing that I noticed about your work, and I know this has to be deliberate, and it seems like something that should be obvious for all artists, because what you do, like your distinct style, and that I'm like, oh, I can tell right away it's you, is you have this powerful. You always have powerful and dramatic lighting. You always have half of your scene in shadow, or even if it's mostly in light, but there's always something that's in shadow that just your eye gets drawn there. And then you take, it's not just that, but then it's the color. Like you're like, let's it's not psychedelic because it's hard to explain, but you really just punch up everything. And it's so full of life. And then on top of that, you show off with really beautiful, sexy brushwork.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So is this because I mean, obviously it's you're not just accidentally doing that.
Yeah.
This is something that this is something that's your aesthetic and something that you're drawn to. Now, is this something you're deliberately like, I'm looking for a scene that's got some powerful shadows and you're kind of looking for that kind of a thing? Because a lot of paintings I've noticed since seeing your work that a lot of paintings lack that kind of drama, and it's made me think more like, man, I need to try to do some more of that kind of stuff in my work if I can.
Right.
But anyways, the floor is yours, man. Explain yourself.
Yeah. Well, I think it's, well, thank you for those kind comments. That's awesome. All of the scenes, well, geez, where do I start? So I've always been drawn to painters, artists that use light, like my first recollection of that being struck by something like that was, I had originally wanted to become an animator for years, and I would just obsess over Disney history, and Toy Story had just came out. I remember when I was a kid, I was like in the theater, I'm like, I want to do that. So I would obsess over DVD behind the scenes, right?
Oh yeah.
And so I mean, that's something like the younger generation just completely will never know like what DVD behind the scenes were, I don't know, because they don't have those. I mean, they have, it's like YouTube now, but so they had on Treasure Planet. Do you remember that movie? It was like,
is that the
Treasure
one where
Island?
They're flying. They're like going through space,
but
sort
in
of.
space.
Yeah. I do remember that. Yeah.
And so it was like financially just a disaster, but it was a beautiful movie. And they had this scene of that. One of the DVD extras was like the visual inspiration behind it, and it was a little mini documentary on the N.C. Wyeth and the Brandywine Artists.
Oh, okay.
So they did a whole thing on like Howard Pyle, Harvey Dunn, Gene Cornwell, Philip R. Goodwin, like all of these, like the original, maybe not like Gene Cornwell, but they showed a Gene Cornwell piece in there. Their paintings, and I was just struck that I'd never seen painting like that, where it was like bathed in light, and I'm like, I have no idea how that's even possible. And so I've kind of been always drawn to that in that realm. And so, all the scenes that I paint though, I'm always looking for that stuff, and combine that with like my love for movies, like Blade Runner, the original.
Yeah.
Is one like Ridley Scott, I just watched that like on mute a lot of times. Sorry, like there's some work being done in the house. I don't know if you can.
Oh,
see
that's
that.
fine.
Okay, so that's the texture. Now, so I tend to look for scenes like that in, when I'm looking for visual inspiration. Everything that I do has a personal significance to me. So it's usually a place or an object that I'm deeply connected to, or I had like a really strong connection to. And so I have in my head, it's always like a little mini story of where things go, what happened in a given scene. And so I will look at that and, when the light strikes me at that time, I'll take a bunch of photographs of it. And that's just the basis for the inspiration for the piece,
But sorry,
yeah.
I don't want to take away from this description that you're going on here. But I was just thinking when you're talking about this, I was like trying to think about like one of the paintings that really catches my eye that you did is this painting of the back of a trunk with like groceries and stuff in it. And the thing about it is, it's like, who the fuck why would anybody want to paint that? Like, it's like, it's one of these things where it's like, because you say, I'm really inspired by it. So you lift up the trunk and you see the lighting in there and you're like, damn, I want to paint that. But here's the thing. It's one of the coolest paintings I've seen. I love this painting.
Thanks, man.
And it's
Thanks.
just like, and what's crazy about it is it's like, you with something like that, it's like I said, who in the world like would open the trunk and go, oh, that'd be a gorgeous painting. But you did that.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, it's I think it's so inspiring, man. And
thank you.
Yeah, you're making me look at things differently, which I thought I already did that as an artist, but like you doing like something like that is just, it's so. How did that painting specifically like move you to like want to do that? Yeah.
Well, true story. It wasn't even my car. I just opened up a random. No, I'm just joking. No. That piece is called Together, and it's it was basically taken after I did grocery. I went with my wife to go shop for groceries, and I remember it was one of the last times we went before she had our baby, so I just became a father. And I remember thinking around the time when we were doing this, that when we were, shopping, I said, this is probably one of the last times this is going to happen. And the sun was coming down, and I just had this moment in life that just like I wanted to preserve it, and that's usually the main inspiration behind anything. I just want to keep it and constantly remember it. And so I remember thinking to myself, like, we do this stuff. It's just her and I, and it's going to be someone else. But at the end of the day, like we have each other, sort of thing. And I remember thinking of that as the light was hitting those bags, and I was like, that this perfectly represents like our moment, food shopping, And so I was like, I've got to take some reference of this thing.
Yeah.
And so I just, I took some reference with my phone, and then I, afterwards I, was, just kind of forgot about it. Cause I just take, I always have these like mini moments, around that time. And so I, returned back to it, and I said, oh man, this is what I want, this is what I want to do. And, I think like the ordinary objects is really what has the most significance to me, because it's like, it's never something that's grandiose, right? When you think about it, it's like the reason why people have like, oh, my favorite pen that's in the corner, or like they look at their mug and it's like, oh yeah, my mom gave me that mug, when I was, 10 years old or something like that. And it said, girls, world's best, child, a son, but it rubbed off or something. And I always I've always had this mug with me, that sort of thing. And so it's just, it could be ordinary. And I think also like a testament to a really good painter, at least for me, and what paintings that drive me, I should say, is basically, to steal a quote from a painter by the name of Charles Hawthorne, is the ability to, because Hawthorne would say like, have you ever read his book, Hawthorne on Painting, by any chance?
No.
Old school painter. He's the reason why Provincetown exists, because he started a painting artist colony up there.
Oh, wow.
And so, which is pretty wild when you think about it. And so he was taught by William Merritt Chase. And so it was around Sargent's time and all that stuff. So he had said, he wrote this book called Hawthorne on Painting. And it's great. I would recommend it. But he had said, don't paint something that's already beautiful. It's already beautiful. So what do you need to paint it for? And he said, if you can make me see the beauty in something that's ordinary, like a rusty old pan, then you would have learned something in painting. And that could be argued like whatever, it's his opinion. But that idea of like, okay, if I can make something super ordinary feel important, then I've done something, with that piece. And so that's my aim a lot of time, all the time with my paintings,
Yeah. That's awesome, man. That makes a lot of sense. I see that a lot in your work. It's cool. Like that piece, like is one of those pieces that it caught my eye right away when I first saw it. And I was just like, who would ever think to do that? It's like so strange, but like it just looks so awesome. Like there's just there's the texture, the lighting, there's like character and feeling in there. And that's awesome, man.
Thanks.
It's really cool.
And like you only have, my attitude is like, it's a privilege for me to be able to paint my own stuff and be able to, sell it through galleries and stuff. I want to make sure that it's something worthwhile for me, right? Because, I could go off and paint stuff that I think will, is commercially viable, but I only have so much time on this planet, right? And so like I want to paint stuff that's worthwhile to me, so that's why I paint those things as well.
And how big is that painting? That piece?
It's 24 by 24 inches.
Oh, okay.
The final. I did a couple of studies that actually I just posted on my Instagram account.
Okay.
So like that, they're all different sizes and stuff. So like to kind of like dovetail back to your question about lighting and stuff, all of that stuff is planned. Like I'm the most like natural artist in a sense. Like it's like everything that I have to do, like I work for, like really hard. It's always a struggle. And so I design everything because I'm just, it's worth designing, yeah.
Well, you go in with a plan.
You go in with the plan. Yeah. And I find like it's a part of the, I really love the process of painting, like the process of building an image. Mm-hmm. And I think it just comes from being an illustrator, you like you like you have this like way of, as an illustrator, it's like, okay, I got a day or a few hours or a week. Here's how I'm going to do it, and you learn how to just boom, and with painting, sometimes it's not necessarily like that, but you kind of have to do that if you want to make like painting deadlines. And so for me, it helps me keep my mind on track, because otherwise I'll just work on a painting for a year or something like that. Like, what if I did this? No, that sucked. Okay. What if I did that? No, that messed up, and so having in the long run, I work on a painting, I feel like I lose confidence in myself and I get depressed. And so having a plan, it keeps me like, okay, I know that if I just, stay within this loose idea of what the painting is going to be, it's not going to suck completely. It might be mediocre, but it's not going to suck. And so that's good. And so then that helps me complete a painting a lot faster, for those reasons. That makes sense. And are you, one thing too, everyone's got to check out, you can
let everyone know where to find it. But you and Tyler have been doing these really cool like painting videos where you guys are both painting together. Kind of sometimes it's the same subject, but you guys are doing your own. That is so awesome, man. It's so much fun. I've gotten to watch a couple of them. But what's your preferred like what do you paint? Are you doing like linen or do you like board?
Now I've been kind of changing all the time because I get bored really quickly. I don't know about you, and just like I just want to do something different just for the sake of doing something different. In a sense, like I'm always a grass is greener type of thing when it comes to stuff like that. It's like, oh man, it's like if I just do this one thing, then I'll never have to worry about this ever again. And then I'll get there and I'll be like, okay, I know I just said if I got here, everything will be fine. But what about this thing over there? And right now it's like I'm paint on wood panel. But I used to paint on canvas all the time, like just regular canvas. And I've tried linen. I've tried aluminum board. That's the ACM panels. Have you ever painted on that stuff?
No, I haven't, but I've heard people, I've talked with some people that do that.
It's great. It's great. I think you would like it. I think you would like it a lot. So, I paint on that, but I like the wood cradle panels because they're easy to frame and they can hang frameless too. Like that. And so, that's what I do. And so that's the answer to that
and
question.
Are you a strict palette type of a person too, or you have like a certain palette that you mostly stick with, or do you kind of just whatever you're feeling,
right.
Go with that?
No, that's, I do have like a set amount of like paints that I use, and then I'll have like a base palette and then add at, sort of like colors like I can't get this color. Let me just add a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and it's basically titanium white, like some sort of like a yellow light. It's usually like cad yellow light hue, cad red light.
And don't you love all the titles? It's like,
it's like, right. It's like, Winchester, Winchester blue,
Yeah.
Do
you have a flesh tone for when you paint people?
They're right.
I like when people ask me that. Like, what flesh color do you use? Like,
yeah. It's somewhere. It's a little bit of Donald Sutherland with, Yeah. I can't think of somebody else.
Yeah. I like to use. There's this brand. I think Rembrandt makes it. And it's called Morgan Freeman, and I use that.
Which is a little bit of Gilbert Gottfried, just a little. I just like just a drop of it, Yeah. Wouldn't that be awesome if they made a whole paint line with just like comedians?
Or like when you go to paint white folks, it's I always reach for Conan O'Brien. And I can mix a little Bobby Lee, mix a little Bobby Lee in there, and perfect. Right. All good.
Oh god,
that's actually a really fun idea. But you wouldn't believe how many times I've been asked like what flesh color do you use? It's the weirdest thing. It's like, I think you should start learning how to paint.
Well, it's one of those it's like that's the thing. Like human beings, when you create something super lifelike, people I don't know how that's even possible. Like
it's a magic trick.
It's a magic trick. It really is, right? And like they're just like magic. There are all these little rules inside of hands that you do, and so like I get asked that often by students because I do a lot of teaching, and so and I tell them that it's like the reason why you ask that is because there is no one flesh color. It's like it's always constantly changing.
It's funny. It's funny when I'm sure you've experienced this, but when you try to explain to them, like, all right, so there's a black guy and a white guy, and I'm gonna use the same 4 colors, and I'm gonna paint both of them. But like that's been. I've had students before that are like, but like it's like, no, this is like there is no person there.
Right.
Like
Right.
that's the thing that it's
Right.
like the Matrix, like there is no spoon, you know.
Right. Yeah.
It's I mean that's the way that I think about it anyways.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it all comes from like experience too, right? Like I
used to think that way.
I used to think like that
way
way
back
all the
yeah.
I had that one flesh color that I would just like tint, to try and get stuff, before I was actually taught. I mean it's all, everything I know is all taught to me. I mean, like, yeah. So
dude, I used to, like, back in the day when I was teaching myself how to paint, I was using a lot of Dr. Martin dyes.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. Those are intense, right?
Yeah. And I would thin them out a lot so that
me too.
They'd be like almost transparent, and I would just build up and build up.
Yeah.
And I just remember, like, I had like my formula for mixing up flesh tones and
You ever drop them on your clothes and it's like you might as well just throw them out because they're just completely stained.
They're fun to work. That's fun. I still have some. I haven't messed with them for a little bit, but it's still, I love that kind of stuff. But mostly now, if I'm going to do like a wet medium like that, like the last, Fred Harper, right?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. Fred's great.
Yeah, he's a good buddy of mine. And
oh, that's awesome.
I always stay with him when I go to New York. And,
oh, no kidding.
Yeah. And he's like a huge gouache guy. Like,
I was just gonna say he brought in. I remember I met him at the Society of Illustrators when I was like a student.
Yeah.
And I had met Greg Manchis earlier in that evening.
Yeah.
And
awesome.
I'm a huge like Greg Manchis fan, and so don't tell Greg. This is not recorded, right? And so, so he was like, I was talking to him and Irene Gallo, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I went to the bathroom and I came back, and Fred was there." And so he was showing. Yeah, I know, right? It's beautiful mane,
That's the Fred Harper move.
And after my eyes cleared and readjusted to the glow, Fred was there, and he was showing. He had a bunch of gouache still life paintings of like a mug and like a piece of fabric, and I was like, "These things are incredible," And I didn't know that they were not oil paints because they look like they were.
Oh yeah, he basically works the same way with it, but he's the one that because years ago, like I was doing like a lot of like watercolor, and I was doing acrylic, like I kind of went from watercolor to acrylic, but I really love watercolor, but watercolor, like, it takes me a while, and I work really transparent and have a lot of like transparent layers because I just think it's really beautiful, like how like they even when there's like dried rings of color that come through.
Totally.
But then when I started hanging out with Fred and I started watching him and seeing some of his paintings, I'm like, I never really tried gouache before, and he gave me a couple tubes of, I think, the Holbein kind, or was that what it's called? I think it's
Holbein.
Holbein,
yeah.
And so I just went home and just started playing with it, and I was like, oh man, this is cool. It's almost like oil paint and acrylic had a baby. And watercolor, like you can do like watercolor washes, and then you can get opaque, and you can so. And then the other thing I love about it, around that same time, Sean Cheatham started doing these like little studies, and they were so cool looking, and he was like showing like steps, he would share like steps, but he didn't really explain much. And I wrote him, I'm like, what are these steps, like, if you don't mind me asking, because this looks like a lot of fun, man. I'd like to play around with it. And he's like, oh yeah, sure, no problem, man. And so what he was doing with gouache was he'd just do like almost like color by number values, where with gouache, where it's like he'd do like solid shapes, and it looks like color by number. Like he would just like, there'd only be like maybe 2-3 values, that's it. And he would block them in solid, and it looks like it looks like a color by number, but still looks really cool. And then he would take water and he would pour water on it when it dried a little bit, and then just move the water around, and the water would just sort of go in there and it just blend it together like a magic trick.
Yeah.
Where it's like now it doesn't look like color by number. Now it looks like a really cool looking painting.
Right.
And then after that dries, then he goes in on top and like refines things, and it's done. I'm like, whoa. And so I started doing that. I started like, and it was kind of hard for me to like simplify the first, because I'm kind of like a direct painter.
Right.
I'll kind of like just lay something down, start, you know, a lot of times I'm like maybe dark to light or whatever. But this was like a challenge for me to just put this simple value shape here and here and here. But it was a lot of fun, you know, and it's just so cool. Like that's what's so great about artists that are willing to just share, you know? Yeah.
I mean, it's so, I mean, at least before like social media, it was so hard to figure this stuff out, you know, and because there was just very few people, at least, you know, when I was a student, that had that information. And so I was willing to share. And, you know, magazines didn't do, you know, like they did it, but then it was just like, okay, how did you get from like step 3 to 4? Because there's a huge gulf here, you know. And just the idea of painting, like with the way you were describing that, or like putting in something in like these really strong shapes, like, and it's really disciplined, like almost like a tiling method. You have to tell yourself, especially like with something like that, it's like, okay, I know it looks weird, but this is like one step, like it's going to look okay. Don't freak out, you know, and you have to almost like remove like that part of your brain that wants to see instant gratification, in a sense. So it's cool that he saw, that he showed you that. I mean, I've definitely heard of that, that type of like,
it's an interesting technique. I mean, it's like, because there's so many, that's what I love about painting is, like, you know, with gouache and oil paint, you know, both those mediums, I mean, obviously they're both very different from each other, but there's so many techniques and approaches. Like you could try new things every single time, you know, and I take that and that's what I've taken, you know. I mostly do digital work now because of my work. Even though at heart, I love traditional painting and so much, but I don't get to do it as much. I'm hoping to do more. Like this freaking Johnny Cash has been haunting me for years, but I have not had the time to, like, for myself for a long time. But like, you know, taking those aspects of like, you know, like even that gouache technique, like how can I do something like that digitally? Right. And then I mess around and I'll like, wow, I can like almost mimic it. I can't pour water on it. Right. But I can do something like very similar like that, and then I can take the smudge tool and I can kind of just quickly go in with a messy brush and with some aggression, like not, you know, not care if I'm gonna be sloppy. And when you mix those aspects of traditional in your digital work, that's when you start to get some exciting things with digital type painting. Right. You know? Right. And you know, that's you. What you're doing is exactly the reason why that gouache technique exists, right? You're just, because really, what is that gouache technique? It's just a hack to make it look blended like oil paints. Yeah. Right. Because think about it. It's just like gouache is not really designed to do that. And you're taking the one thing that really sucks about gouache, which is that it reactivates. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then you're turning it in and like using it to hack it so that it looks like oil paint or get it like an oil-like effect. And then you're doing that and basically taking that same idea and just putting it digitally, you know. That's what like I love about the process of painting. Because I'm always constantly thinking about why a step exists, you know, not the fact that it does exist, but what is it trying to solve? And then, you know, and that's something that my teacher and one of my mentors, Bill Mon, would always tell us. Like, he's like, don't, you know, he knew like every single medium. It wasn't an issue for him. And I remember thinking like, you know, like, what? And it's like, no, I need to take a gouache class, a watercolor class, a color pencil class, like, because that, you know. And he would say, he's like, don't worry about the medium. You don't look at the medium as its own thing. Look at it as what problem is it solving? You know, it's like, and once you do that, then you could use any medium you want. It's just about a matter of like learning their idiosyncrasies, you know, knowing what you can and can't do.
and finding solutions. But what matters is the solution, and that's like awesome, especially when you figure out a new solution to help, integrate in your own work, and I'm all about that, I'm all about that. I'll start paintings, Tyler and I talk about this all the time on our Stream Live brush. And it's like where I will start a painting different every single time. Like I've used to love, like doing, like washes of oils and then lifting it out.
Oh yeah. With a rag or whatever.
With a rag or something. And it like, Bill Montotis, Tyler and I, one where like you hair dry it a little bit, which is, super safe, in terms of vapors and stuff, but you can lift it out with a kneaded eraser, and it was like a single step in a long process of like a mixed media process. Yeah. And so I thought to myself, like, okay, how do I do that, but not asphyxiate myself so I can live beyond my 40s, and I, ran across the fact that you can do that in gouache. And it's not the same way, but you can get really great results doing like a wash and then lifting it out. I'm like, shit, why don't I just do that? Oh, can I swear on this? I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's okay.
I know I've heard other people swear on it, but I'm just, I
don't, it's fine, man.
It's like, maybe it's like, I don't know if this was like the kid friendly episode, it's like, let's bring Ray on. He's pretty nice, so.
We forgot to pray. Damn it. No, it's totally fine.
So yeah, so I'll do that. And I'm like, okay, then I could just, work oils on top of that. No problem. And then boom, I'm done, or I could do the lift out digitally. Like, who cares? Like what are you trying to do with the lift out? You're trying to establish your value patterns. There's a billion ways to do that. This is just one of the ways to do it, And so like what you were describing with gouache is like a perfect way to block things in and get like all your main masses in, and your entire layout of your values, and separating your lights and your shadows, and then creating some transitions. And then like all you're doing on top of that is just enhancing the darks and enhancing the lights. And then boom, you're done,
Yeah.
And so it's a nice way of thinking about it.
It's so funny, man. Like, I remember when I first started, I'm sure you can relate to this, but like, I think when you first start, you just, you have like this idea in your head, like what kind of art you want to do. And you don't quite understand it yet, and you almost complicate everything.
Yeah.
Like you do too much rendering, too much detail, and too much. Where I think the more I grow as an artist, the more I realize that it's actually more of an illusion of how much more I can tell with more of a suggestion.
Yeah.
And it becomes more powerful, and it becomes more like beautiful and exciting, and like, I think that's kind of where I feel right now, where I'm just like I'm actually working on an illustration right now, where I was really excited about it, but now I'm kind of bored out of my mind. And the reason is because they wanted me to do something that was like, they wanted me to paint these people and be like Sargent like, as far as they want like that kind of a, that's what I thought the aesthetic was. That's what they said. But the more I work on it, the more I realize, oh, no. They actually want it to be as photorealistic as possible.
Right.
So like all these,
which they probably thought that was, when some people look at a Sargent, they probably thought that like, it's like, oh man, look how photorealistic this is. This is what I want, Yeah.
And I have like these brush strokes that I really like. And like, oh no, it looks like she's got a bump on her nose. And I'm like, no, that's just a brush stroke. That's like perfect the way it is.
Right.
Don't touch it. Right. And they're like, oh no, that needs to be soft and smooth. And you're like, and then, the thing is, for me, I know enough how to paint realistically that I know that if I smooth out brushwork, it's gonna just look like a really realistic photo.
Right.
Because that's like, you're taking away the character, and it's, and then so once that happens, I'm like bored, and I'm just like, oh gosh, like I'm like so bored right now. The only thing I'm having fun with now is, for some reason, it's okay if I'm more brushy with the clothing. So like it's, you know what I mean? It's like,
it's aesthetics decisions meant to fit a client's needs, right? It's like they want this because they want it, and they think this is what's gonna, make a good image. And like illustrations like that. It's like a balancing act. You know, it's like you really, honored that to be commissioned to paint something for someone. And so you have to please them, you know, like, it's like, okay, you know, at a certain point, you just have to be like, okay, this is not really my piece.
Yeah.
It's
not anymore.
theirs. They're paying for it. Okay. You know, and
that's
but
exactly.
yeah, it's like they want Sargent viewed from, it's like when somebody says Sargent like that, I know that they think of like Sargent from like maybe, 30 feet away, you know, like they don't know what a Sargent looks like up close, because they're
not looking at it through our eyes where we're like,
right.
You mean 3 brushstrokes for the hand? Okay.
right. You know, it's just like
that only has 3 brushstrokes.
Right. It's like, that doesn't look right. Yeah. When I zoom in, it only has 3 brushstrokes, you know, it's like, it's like, because we're the only people right. I mean, how many people are up there like with like security guards like yelling at you to step back, right? Be like, please, you know,
stop
please
licking
step back,
the
sir.
painting.
Stop licking the painting.
Yeah. That's funny. So when, like, but I want to ask you a little bit more technique stuff, because I'm sure people got mad at me about my podcast last week with Bill Ray, because we got on it's fascinating to me because he used to work for Ren and Stimpy, and he did all this work for Mad Magazine, and
he's unreal.
Yeah.
He's
but we could have talked for hours about stuff, but then people were like, you know, had to bitch about it. You didn't talk about his fine art. And it's like, dude, like, there's only so much time. Like, what do you want me to do? Like a 5-hour podcast? But
right.
Anyways, but I do want to know a little bit more about technique, because I'm interested, like for that painting, for example, with the car trunk. Like, what's your approach with something like that? So you did a couple studies. So are you like transferring like a sketch onto the canvas?
Yeah.
And then do you do like a full underpainting?
So that's a great question. So the way I think about all of my pieces, because again, I don't really start a piece the same way every single time, but I always think about it in terms of like value first, then color, and then, texture effects and all that stuff. So I will always do some sort of an underpainting, and laying out all of the values. Like, I like doing that separately because I don't want to have to worry about color. And so, because most of my pieces are really value driven, that's really, really where the meat and potatoes is. As you know, with painting, it's all about values. And so, for my underpainting, what I did was, and this is a trick I learned from, I saw a couple of people in school doing it, and then I actually fully saw an artist do Donato Giacola. Do you know Donato's work? Right. I mean, it's like incredible fantasy art. And so what he does is he does a drawing and then gets a copy of that drawing. And he does like a full value drawing, basically with like color pencils and like on tone paper, basically. He gets a full value drawing of that and then mounts that onto his panel or wherever he's working, and then uses that as an underpainting and then paints on top of that. Oh, wow. So what I do is I said, man, that's so cool. I want to do that. And so what I do is what I change it a little bit, because I use different mediums for my underdrawing, because it doesn't really matter what it is as long as you, again, like I said, working out your values. So I took that, I have this 10 by 10, I did a 10 by 10 mixed media black and white study using airbrush acrylics and color pencils. The same way, like in the manner, like not the same exact way, but in a manner that like old movie poster illustration technique, like Bruce Drusen would do, And so I took that and I scanned it in super high res, and then I blew it up to 24 by 24 inches. I first actually shrunk it down to 8 by 8 and then printed that out, mounted that, and then did a color study on top of that. And that's where the color study is, right? And so, because I have my values there, right? And with me, I'm like that illustrator, like I only have a certain amount of time. If I've already solved a problem, why do I have to solve it again, right? And so moving on. And so then once I was done with the color study, I just printed out another high res 24 by 24 inch print of my drawing of that same drawing. And so it's super large. And I use that as an underpaint and then paint it on top of that. I did my first layer in acrylics for the only reason for the sole reason that it dries really fast and I can build up opacity really nicely. And I can do all this stuff and I don't have to wait for drying times. And the vapors aren't toxic, you know.
No, wait, hold on a second. So
yeah.
Do you transfer? Do you actually transfer the sketch to the canvas?
No,
or are you actually putting, like, that's the part that I'm confused about. So you're actually putting like an actual print, an actual print.
Yeah, I scale it up, and so with all of the texture, because when you scan the super high res, you see all of this texture in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like if you see Drew Struzan work, he does all this stuff before he puts the color on, right? And it's just to mimic like detail. And so
that's awesome.
That's what I do. And so, and that way, if I mess up, I could just print on a new one.
Yeah.
And I'll be fine, you know? And so so then once that's, I mount it, basically wet mount it with matte medium. And I wet it and then it glues it on to a board.
Yeah.
And then I work on top of that.
Awesome.
And then sometimes I just work straight in oils. Other times I'll do an underpainting or a first pass of color in acrylics. And I'll just sort of quickly kind of like dot in all the colors that I want to use, you know, using my color study as a guide. So at that point I have 3 pieces of reference: my drawing, my color study, and then the actual photo reference.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So,
that's awesome.
But like funny, it's all about the underpainting, right? Because it's like, so I'll do that, or I'll do a gouache lift out, you know, under a line drawing. Sometimes I'll just print out a line drawing. A lot of times I like to start my drawings digitally, right? Because you can cut up a drawing, and I mean, like, who cares, right? And so like, if it's a super nice line drawing that you did, that you scaled up and you did everything, and I'll start it on my iPad, you know, and I'll just print that out either on gray or on white. If it's on white, then I'll do a lift out, and then I'll just, you know, basically put paint right into oils, or spray fix it and paint it in acrylics and then paint it in oils. You know, I'm experimenting with taking a color study and scanning that super small and blowing it up. And so it's got all these crazy strokes that I had and all these unplanned happy accidents, and then using that as a basis to build my final painting on.
That's so awesome. That's so cool. So when you fix that, what kind of paper is it, by the way?
It's so Donato uses this thing called Strathmore 500 multimedia. And I'll send you a link to it. It's just basically, it accepts like ink really well. But you could use, you know, as long as the paper, if it's a full color print, like I have, like I printed on full colors, you know, because you could see the grays and all that stuff. It's got to be from a printer that is water resistant, because otherwise it'll just become a pooled mess, right?
Yeah.
And so
that's what I was wondering. I was like,
it's happened to me. Yeah. So like there's these so some of the Epson printers have like, it's like ultra color chrome or something like that with a K. I forgot what it is. And but that's water resistant. And so I'll print it out like at FedEx Kinko's, you know, on their poster print, just regular matte paper. Sometimes I'll just use versus like, because you know, you can't just bring in your paper and say, can you print on this, you know? So I'll use that, even though it's not really designed for that. It's got like an emulsion layer, and sometimes it separates if you wet it too much, but it works just perfectly fine. I mean, if you're get used to it. So that's the type of stuff.
Man, it's funny because like for example, even like with this Johnny Cash back here,
yeah,
like that's when I work in oils, I prefer like board, and that's like a actually thin linen glued to board.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
I don't like a flimsy kind of a canvas. It's just not. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't get used to the. I used to love the bounce, so now I don't really like it as much because I feel like it I think my brushstrokes stand a lot easier on board, and I just like the rigidity also, just sort of being able to lay things in,
Yeah. No, yeah,
Yeah.
Same thing. It kind of,
Yeah.
I just never really got into that too much, but
Right.
like for something like that, I always do my sketches digitally now.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of the same thing. I print it out, but I have to print it out on 8.5 by 11 in tiles, and then I have to cut it, and I have to glue it or not, like tape it all together. I got this huge like serial killer looking thing, and then I take like typewriter paper, and I put it behind, and I just draw it on, and it just leaves the marks, just
like
enough.
faint, right? Yeah.
Yeah, just enough
yeah.
to like see, and then I just start blocking it in. So
yeah,
but
that's awesome.
It's a lot to try to transfer. It's like but I mean, I kind of like the same thing. I like the process,
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. If it works, right? It's just like one of those, there's, like we said before, like there's so many ways of working. It's just like,
there's so many ways to skin a cat,
right? Yeah.
Why do people say that? You know what I mean?
I have no idea.
That's so funny. I just, while I said that, I'm like, that's really morbid. There's so many ways to skin a cat. Where did that come from? Anyway, dude, I've realized we've already been talking for about an hour.
Oh, okay.
I think something like that. I haven't been timing exactly, but
yeah.
So before we get going, because I want to get some more out of you. Just if you can try to sum up a little bit. I'm curious about just your career and your trajectory, like how you first started, maybe why, and then how you've changed and where you're going now. I think it would be interesting to know.
Yeah, I can give you a condensed version of it. It's I originally went to undergrad in a small state school up in near Buffalo called SUNY Fredonia, and I went there because it was a state school and my parents couldn't afford like a super expensive art school. And at the time, there wasn't like great online teaching, like, I don't know, like Schoolism or something, or Visual Arts Passage or Smarter Art School and all that stuff. So I went and I studied like computer art with the idea that I wanted to get into video games, get into animation. Turned out that it really wasn't that, but I fell in love with animation. I still really wanted to do animation, so I wanted to go to grad school for that, I decided. And so I went to the Academy of Art University in San Francisco for character animation, 3D character animation. My final senior year in undergrad, I fell in love with illustration. I took an illustration class because I wanted to improve my drawing skills, because I heard that you really need to learn how to draw well if you were going to become an animator. What a shocker, even if it was 3D, right? And so so I was like, oh my God, this illustration thing is incredible, And that's when I also found that like Treasure Planet documentary on the Brandywine artist. I'm like, holy shit, like this is wow. And so when I went there, I really enjoyed being, doing animation and everything like that. But I realized, like, as I was in the classes, my figure drawing classes and stuff, I realized I really wanted to paint and I really wanted to become an illustrator. So I was lucky that they had a really great illustration program there. And it's just luck, Yeah. Because otherwise I would have moved back. Then as I was training to be an illustrator, the program that they had was set up was, they had the attitude of like, okay, you're an artist and illustration is an application of your art. That's it. It's just some sort of avenue. And so so they trained us in drawing and painting, like landscape painting, still life, figure, clothes figure, all that stuff. And they encouraged us to basically do whatever we needed to do. Like, so many of them were illustrators, working illustrators and gallery painters, in which I never knew that you can really do, at the same time. Right. And so I fell in love with gallery painting when I was there. And so, and when I graduated, I decided that's what I want to do. I want to do both illustration and fine art. So I started first with illustration. My first jobs, you know, I was basically trying to get any work. I got I did a bunch of fantasy art for like card games and stuff, but nothing like Wizards of the Coast or anything like that. Like the other tier, like I won't name names, but like, you know, I was like, I got $100 pop for like these crazy intricate illustrations that I spent weeks on, you know, and I was just cutting my teeth on that stuff, you know. Yeah. And teaching, I feel
a lot of anxiety just thinking about that.
Yeah, I know, right? And so eventually, like I realized like I didn't want to become a fantasy artist, even though like I really love that type of art. It just was, you know, I wanted to do stuff like poster stuff or more traditional illustration. But I realized like a lot of those avenues had kind of since disappeared. They've moved, they kind of shifted away from the industry. So I decided, I was like, well, I just want to just do poster stuff. I want to do stuff with real figures, you know, everyday people. So I decided to, at the same time I was thinking about this, the theater director at the school that I was teaching at, SUNY Fredonia, which my alma mater, I came back and was teaching part-time there. And I still do to this day, had said, you know, offered me a chance to do their illustrations for their the theater department, for all their performances. And he was like, we can't pay you your full rate, but you know, we can give you money. And I was like, well, just how much how much can you give me? And it was $300. I'm like, you mean to tell me I'm getting 3 times the amount of money than what I was getting for the card illustrations? Like sold, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was able to, that trained me into working with people who weren't artists, and it was great. It was great. And it was, as soon as I did that, I realized like I'm in my wheelhouse. This is what I really want to do. And that's when I started to win awards, basically. And so, you know, I had won an award from the Society of Illustrators Los Angeles, and then eventually I won like a gold medal from the Society of Illustrators New York, using one of those theater posters. And so from there, I was doing some advertising work, artwork, and doing editorial stuff, which was awesome. I got the chance to work in the New Yorker, and it was like, wow, you know, like that was like one of my dream gigs. And while I was doing that, in between jobs, I would always have a personal work, a personal piece on my easel. I was always painting. And I was going through an evolution that, you know, I was just trying to figure out what type of artist I wanted to be, because, you know, when you get out of school, it's like, okay, I know all this stuff. Well, I mean, what the hell do I want to be? You know, what do I want? Now that I'm not guided, or I don't have like an assignment, what type of artwork do I want to do? Because there's no restrictions at this point. And so it took a couple of years of searching, and I showed a little bit here and there. And then eventually there was this great gallery, Meibohm Fine Arts, next to Buffalo, that a friend of mine's invited me to show with him in this landscape invitational thing. I met Grace Meibohm, the owner. She liked my artwork and then offered me a spot on her gallery. And I was in this thing where like there was, you know, a lot of the older artists in the gallery were kind of like retiring, and they needed some new people. And the rest is history. That became my first gallery, and that's when my fine art career kind of took off, you know. And so I had a solo show 2019 was my first solo show, and then from there, I've been fortunate that people like my work, and I've gotten a great opportunity to show at places like Arcadia Gallery and
that's awesome, man.
At Abend Gallery in Denver.
Arcadia that's that place in New York, right?
Yeah, they were in LA and then they moved back to New York.
Oh, okay. I think I've been there. Is that like in Soho or something like that?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't know where their new place is. I think their new place is in Soho. And so so it was awesome. You know, so I'm getting ready to show with them in July, actually, for a group show, invitational show. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, and I just got joined on with the Principal Gallery in Alexandria, which is really great. We've never heard of that place, man, it's so incredible, you know. So I've been super fortunate. So that's basically been my career up until this point, where I'm still doing, I'm basically just doing fine art, you know, stuff. But, you know, if an occasional illustration job, like I'm working on an illustration commission now, comes along, I'll take it, you know, because I still really love illustration. I love working with figures and telling stories and things like that, you know. So that's like the condensed version, you know.
No, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's cool that you're mostly doing like gallery stuff. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not easy, you know. That's a because I mean, you got to sell, I would imagine, quite a bit of paintings.
Yeah.
Or sell a few for a really nice amount of money.
Yeah.
You know, but like, and you don't have to like get into this right now or anything, but I'm curious, like how much are galleries usually taking?
So normally it ranges between 30 and 50%.
Oh, okay.
Most of the time it's 50%.
Yeah.
So the gallery that you have to work with, you know, has to be, you know, it's definitely a relationship. And so you have to trust that they're going to be pushing your work. They have to trust you that you're going to be showing up and delivering good work for them to sell. And so it's super important that you pick a good gallery for it, you know. I mean, so if it's 50%, is it worth it? You know, like for instance, like a principal gallery, like or Abend, like, yeah, it is, because they're advertised. They do all the advertisement for it. They have all the collectors, you know.
And once you kind of sell, you know, to the right kind of person.
Right. And you know, you're. I mean, my prices aren't high, but you know, you have galleries like that so that you can build your prices slowly but surely upwards. You know, so you know it's definitely like you're navigating things, you know. But the thing I learned is like, I don't want that to be my only thing that I do, you know, which is why like I teach, you know, I've taught at places like Visual Arts Passage, and I'm currently teaching at Smarter Art School, which is it's great. And teach our student Fredonia, and like, it's all like, so all of this stuff is like, you know,
Smarter Art School.
Yeah. So it's Smart School. Manchester teaches there. Yeah. And it's, they're all online. It's great. And that's a new thing for me in terms of online education. Because I never thought I'd do it, but you know, then COVID hit and all this stuff. Right. It's like, it's wild, you know. And cool. and then the streaming thing, you know, Tyler Jacobson and I, you know, decided like, you know, he's one of my best friends in the world. And so like and we talk all the time. And so we're like, why don't we do, you know, his wife, Kate Welch had said like, you guys should do a streaming thing, you know? And that's where our show Live Brush came about. And that, you know, it's a small thing, awesome. But it's thanks. And it's, we've taken a bit of a hiatus because, of course I had a kid, you know, and so that's just like as you know.
Congrats, by the way. How long ago?
It's going to be next week. It's going to be 3 months, which is pretty wild to even think about. Yeah.
Fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had a pandy baby too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last June. So she's almost a year old.
Has it been June? I remember seeing the pictures.
Yeah. She's
wow.
Gonna in June 17th she'll be a year already. It's crazy how fast.
Incredible.
Dude,
incredible.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. She's crawling around everywhere, but she's like this close to walking already.
Wow.
Because she's like she'll stand up in the middle of the floor and she'll go like this, like look at me, everybody, you know. And she's like climbing up everything, and you're just like, you're too small to climb that stuff.
Yeah. Who taught you how to do that?
So, but she walks everywhere along things, so it's gonna be any day now. But
wow,
but it's the best, man. Isn't it the best? Like
it's man. I just didn't like. I would hear like I'd be on another podcast listening to other people like talk about that, and I'm like, okay, skip, and then I'm like, all I want to do is talk about like dad stuff, because it's like I totally understand everybody being like, isn't it the best? Because every day is different. Every day is different. It's pretty amazing.
It really is, because it's like, you know, like if I'm being honest, like my life is stressful. a lot. Like I get stressed a lot, like
Yeah.
deadlines and whatever else, and we're having to move soon. So there's a lot of things going on, and then you add like all the shit going on in the world right now, and
Yeah.
people fucking shooting missiles at each other, and like all
Yeah.
kinds of crazy things happening. It's like, what, it's crazy, and you just feel like, oh, sometimes. And then I go upstairs and I just see this, my kids,
Yeah.
and right away they're like, "Daddy," or whatever, and
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, I'm fine, everything's
Right.
fine,
Right.
and it's the best thing. Like, I don't know, I love being a dad.
Yeah. 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 I've only been one for three months.
Teenagers, I love my teenagers to death, but god damn, dude, that's another stress addition to my life right now.
It's karma incarnate, right? It's like,
dude.
oh, yeah, I'm in trouble. I know I'm in trouble because I'm already apologizing to my parents for like
exactly,
being an ass when I was a teenager.
Was I like that? Like, what the heck's going on here?
It's like, I know I was like that. I know I was like that. So
no, and it's weird. Like my 14-year-old's just about to. She's got accepted to this special high school.
Wow,
that she's
That's
excited to go to, and
that's great.
You have to like kind of get accepted. It's not like a normal Chicago school,
right?
So she's happy about that. And then I was just trying to talk to her. I'm like, I can't believe you're going to be a freshman. Like, this is my baby, like, how are you going to be a freshman? And she's like, and I'm like, aren't you excited? She's like, not really. It's just going to get harder. And, school, like, it's like, and I'm like, so are you excited about the classes you signed up for? Not really. Like, I'm like trying to like, I'm like, hey, you're gonna make new friends. She's like, ugh, it's like everything. I'm like, all right, whatever.
Yeah. It's seeing the, it's like, as a parent, I would imagine you have an ability to see the macro over the micro, right? And so in kids, it's all about the micro. It's like, it's like, I don't know of a world beyond, what's happening next year in school.
They forget that you raised them from the moment they were born.
Yeah.
Like, it's like all of a sudden they think you're an idiot. Like, the funniest thing is, like, both my girls, as soon as they turn into teenagers, it's like, you're an idiot, you're old, you don't know anything.
Yeah.
All of a sudden I have no culture or understanding of anything, and I'm a dork. And it's gotten to the point where, like, if we're driving around and I happen to one of their songs, they play their music, their song comes on and I start singing it, they're like, oh, gross, you know this song? Like, what's wrong with you? And they like, it's like, they're like, oh, I can never listen to Post Malone again. You ruined it for me. It's like, it's so crazy. It's like
everything's instantly tied to, because they're instantly tying that to like you as the dad, the parent figure, right? It's like, for the most part, I feel like, a pretty in touch person with everything. Yeah. But around my kids, I feel like a loser. Like, they, like, I feel like such a, like they don't care. They don't care. Like, even when I, like, it's really funny. When I did the Time poster or a Time cover this last year for the person of the year. Congrats on that, by the way. That's
thanks,
awesome.
Man.
Yeah.
I was so excited about it, and I tried my daughters don't really care at all. Yeah. They're not impressed, right? So
Jason. It's a magazine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I had this moment when I was trying to explain this to like some younger students, and I was thinking to myself, it's a magazine. How many of these? You
don't care, Yeah.
Yeah.
But to me, I'm like, dude, this,
because it is a big deal. But yeah.
And so and that's fine. I understand that. But the funny thing is like, they're going to school, and I'm like, I was like, you should let your art teacher know. That's kind of a cool thing. Like, because I'm always like, what are you guys doing in art class? Like my one daughter's like, oh man, I'm having this portrait class. They're drawing portraits, and I'm having a real hard time. And I don't, the teacher's not really helping me. And I'm like, hello. I paint time covers. Like I do like what, but they don't want my help. They don't care. And then my daughter was like, it was really funny because my 14-year-old, she was like, that's so cool. She's like, Dad, I think she said she was somewhere and she saw it on TV. And she was like, that's when she got excited. She's like, oh my gosh, I saw your cover on TV. And she goes, I gotta make an Instagram post about it. And I'm like, oh, cool, you know? I thought, and I remember thinking, I felt that made me feel so good that my daughter's proud of her dad. She wants to do an Instagram post. And so insecure dad checks her post a couple days later, there's nothing. And then a couple days later I check again, still nothing. And then I go and I see her the next time I see her, I go, hey, you gonna post you need me to send you like a nice JPEG of that? Like and she's never posted it. Like
it's like your version of like putting it up on the refrigerator, right? It's like a role reversal, right? It's just like
so man, I should turn that into a stand-up bit.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah.
But man, anyways, hey, it's so much fun talking with you. And we gotta do this again, man. We definitely gotta do this again.
Hey,
you're one of those guys that you gotta be a regular, as I like to say. But before we go here, there are some fan art drawings of you, so I want to show you that.
Oh my God. Okay.
So let's get into that real quick here.
Yeah. I'm so excited to see this.
Yeah, I always love this. So let me know when you see this.
Okay, yeah.
This is by Ray Shipman, by the way.
Nice. Great first name. Yeah,
that's true. These get pretty wild, by the way.
Yeah. Hey man, yeah, I'm a fan. The more wilder the better. That's great. Look at that. Yeah.
This is by Din Lee. This one reminds me of Forrest Whitaker a little bit.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, especially with the like the eye, one of the eyes. Like, I wonder if my eye bulges. You know, like is.
I love that when people. I wonder if that's how I look. Like,
it might.
You know how you look.
Like, I don't know. Apparently I don't.
Oh man, it's always fun. I love it.
That's great.
So,
look at that. Wow.
So this is by Jacques Lemonnier. And you know what's funny about this one? I got to say this to you and to Dominic Zeilinger. So Jacques, he usually does like, he submits quite a bit. And he usually does like these really tight, like really nice cross-hatching drawings.
Yeah.
He's got a really specific style, but this time he was trying to do his best to mimic the style of Dominic Zeilinger and see how close he could get to what he was going to do. And check this out. That's what Dominic Zeilinger did.
Wow.
I mean, look at how similar. Like, wow. So he did a pretty good job of guessing, you know. Yeah,
that's called in school. We would my teachers would say that you were going to school on someone So that way you were going to school on them. That's great.
So that's Dominic's. Great. So it's pretty cool to see because they are very similar. Even the way that the eyes and the distance and
totally.
Jacques is paying pretty close attention to I was like, wow, that's pretty
great.
Crazy, man.
That's great, man. That's great. Wow. That is wild. I love it. I love it.
It's cool. Great. I like how Dominic's he always has like a really nice, clean, simple design. His work is always about the design. Yeah. And like the flow of the mustache around the mouth and there's like such a nice flow and it's just so like fluid, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. A lot of like lines perfectly going into like the top of the hair, which I don't have anymore, you know.
It's hard to do that though. It's hard to like simplify it to like.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh yeah. I could super appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. That's great.
And
that is awesome.
And this one here, I'm going back here, but this is by Daniel Sheldon.
Awesome.
You look
That's
very
good.
intimidating in this one.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I see. This is, yeah. Like if my kid, if I disappear after going on an expedition or something like that, I want this to be my picture I'm leaving behind. Like, what did your dad look like? Like, this is an artist rendition of, yeah,
And
that's
I
great.
think I'm not 100% because I can't remember exactly what the reference photo was like, but I wonder if they're trying to mimic a little bit of your shadow style, if approach.
Yeah, totally.
Kind of feels like it, anyways.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's great.
I mean, I don't remember what the photo was. Is the photo similar to that as far as shadows and everything?
Geez, I don't even remember.
I can't.
It's not as colorful. It's pretty. It's pretty like almost monochromatic-esque. It's got a little bit of color, in it, but not too much. So this is definitely pushed for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the violets. Wow, look at that one.
There you go. This is by Paula Petlwani.
That's great.
I wonder, this one, it looks like a traditional one.
Yeah.
Looks like, I don't know what that is, acrylic.
It's like gouache or something, or acrylics. Yeah.
Yeah, something.
That's great. I love the neck being simplified, almost like it almost looks like a thumbprint,
Yeah.
like Hanak Piven,
Yeah. That's awesome.
It's just missing some like other props, right? That's great. Yeah. Wow.
So
look at that one.
That's the reference, I think, is what it was doing.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Wow. Wow.
This is by Christine Varadi.
Wow, Christine, really nice job. We'll send this one to my mom. She would love that one.
Yeah, I'll email these to you, by the way.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. Oh my God. Wow. I've never had people, I've only had someone paint a picture of me once. And it was like an art. I used to work at Blick Art Materials, and we did a show. All the employees did a show where they painted each other. And that was the only time I ever. So this is like huge. Like I love this.
But you and Tyler have never painted each other?
No.
Oh man, you gotta.
I think Tyler's worried, and you
gotta consummate that marriage, bro.
Yeah, I know. It's just I'm too expensive for Tyler in terms of the likeness rights and everything like that. So. Whoa! Look at that one.
I absolutely love this one, and again, he's looking at that's your aesthetic with that shadow.
The shadow.
Yeah,
wow.
This is Sebastian Martin. This is a great piece, man.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, I just love this one, man.
I love it.
I just was staring at this one for quite a while when I got it.
Yeah.
So many awesome little details, and it's really cool, man. I love this kind of stuff.
Portrait. This is great. Yeah, I love that. I'm such a fan of that.
So outside the box of how I think.
Yeah.
And when I mean, that's one reason I love about caricature is just it's like it's endless what you can do. It's just it's amazing, man.
Yeah. That's great.
I really love his work a lot.
Wow.
And this one is also brilliant.
Wow.
I just love this.
Yeah.
This is by Pablo Salas.
It's like me like having coffee with like Ralph Steadman or something like that. And it's like
yeah. I mean, it almost feels like a Picasso sketch or something. I mean, there's something really he did one
and those are like the buildings in my paintings, I guess, or behind or
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
But I love his directness and like it's just so like I don't know, like watch the one I just did with Bill Ray. He did a sketch of Bill Ray, and it's like he just nailed him, and like but so simple, and it's just like the main thing I think of when I think of the one he did of Bill Ray was the nostril. Like he just has this flaring nostril. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so 100%. Like that's such a good thing. And the thing I love about this is that I don't ask people to do caricatures.
Wow.
I've had people sometimes, like you say, like Christine did a really nice portrait of you, it's really interesting. But it's funny because some of my guests, some of them don't even know I'm going to do this, and they're like afraid, or they're like freaked out, or like because some people take like they're not expecting to see like someone just how far can I take it?
Yeah.
So that's happened.
Great.
It just makes it more fun for people, I think, to watch. But
oh my God, yeah, and just the engagement. I mean, it's great. It's great that I'm honored that someone would take time out of their day to to capture my likeness.
Yeah.
So this is great. So thank you to all the all the people that have participated. That's amazing.
Yeah,
I'm super honored. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. It's awesome. And which reminds me, I'm next week. I'm having someone on my podcast that's he's an amazing sculptor. He does some really cool things. And I just realized that he forgot to get back to me. I was supposed to promote him this week. And I'm gonna just let people know right now. Just want to make sure I got his name 100% right, because he's supposed to be on next week. And but do you ever listen to Your Mom's House podcast?
No.
with
Your Mom's House.
You've never heard of that before?
No. No.
So do you know who Tom Segura is?
Oh, that name sounds super familiar. Let's see.
He's a
oh yeah, totally.
Okay.
Totally.
So him and his wife do a podcast called Your Mom's House, and this is so people should check it out. But his name is Christopher. The reason I can't remember is his last name is, I think it's Genovese. I don't even know how to say his last name. But anyways, Christopher Genovese is going to be my guest next week. And if you've ever watched, like, Tom Segura is one of my favorite stand-up comedians. His wife, Christina P. Pajitsky, she is also a stand-up comedian. They do a podcast together called Your Mom's House. And it's very adult for those out there who are weak asses and can't handle things, but it's very funny and it's very creative, and they show a lot of crazy videos and they make fun of everybody. It's so much fun. Yeah, I love to listen to it while I work. It's very entertaining.
I gotta check this out.
But recently Tom Segura had and he's one of my favorite comics. He's a huge inspiration to me. But he had this terrible accident a few months ago, where it's a freak accident, but there's been memes everywhere, because even though it was terrible, it was kind of morbidly funny, because he was doing a dunk. He's 40 years old, and he's doing a slam dunk competition with his buddy, and he won the slam dunk competition at 9 feet, and someone encouraged him to put it up to 9.3. And he went to try to dunk, and as he went to jump, I think it was his left knee. Basically, he tore his ligaments in his knee and his leg.
Oh my God!
Completely turned into a noodle.
Oh my God!
And he tore it really bad, like terrible. But the worst part is, because of that, he fell back, and all of his body went onto his left arm, and he shattered his humerus bone in half.
Oh my God.
Like all the way through. And then so the video shows him laying in this, like,
and it's on video.
Yeah, and he's laying.
Oh my God.
He's laying in this on his arm up, and his arms backwards, and he's it's a crazy. Anyways, the reason I brought this up, my guest next week is a sculptor, and he's done sculpts of Joe Rogan and different people.
Yeah, I'm seeing him on Instagram. This is awesome. Yeah.
And he did a sculpt of Tom Segura, his crippled body.
I see it right here.
Yeah, you see it. and then he's made like little toys, like collectibles of Tom Segura's body. So anyways, I asked him to come on the podcast, and we're going to talk about his art. So he's going to be on next week.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So anyway,
wow, dunk champion. Wow, that's incredible.
And he did like a whole packaging and everything.
Oh my God, yeah,
so,
yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if people are going to have as much time to draw him, because it's I haven't shared it yet that I'm going to have him on. But anyways, dude, I want to thank you so much for coming on and
thank you for having me.
Shop with me and everything. Is there anything that you want to let people know before you go? Like, let them know, like, your Instagram and all that stuff.
Yeah. So I'm on Ray Bonilla Painter is my Instagram. I'm teaching currently teaching a class at Smarter Art School. So that's and I'm teaching next semester for that. And my Stream Live brush which is on Twitch, is in maybe in a couple of weeks is coming back for sure. So, but our episodes are available on YouTube. So you just search Live Brush, one word. And I think that's it. I got a couple of shows later on in the year. One coming up at the Arcadia Gallery in July, and that's it. I'm just super honored to be on your podcast, man. This is awesome. I'm a huge fan of your work.
Oh, likewise,
and,
man.
What you do, and so it's great to be mutual members of the Mutual Appreciation Admiration Club, right? So and I'm just honored to be able to come and just share my thoughts on my work to all of your audience and all your viewers. So it's awesome. Yeah, I
appreciate you taking the time, man. Really do.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot, man. And to everyone else, we'll see you next week. I'm getting my second vaccine tomorrow. And so nice. I'm planning on being sick as a dog the whole weekend. So see you next time on the other side. See if I'm here. We'll see if I make it. So
I'll take over hosting.
That sounds like a plan.
Yeah, I'll wear a mustache or something like that and say hi. I'm Jason, the second vaccine man.
Awesome.
It went unexpected. Anyways, thank you again.
No problem, man. See ya.
All right. Take care.
You want answers? Truth.